This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We'll shoot down drones, we'll shoot down missiles, but it's defensive in nature.
You attack a U.S. warship, nothing is going to be the same after that.
Every hour that goes by that these drugs are allowed to be mailed is time where children die.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Hanging on by a thread. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. That seems to be the status of the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran as tensions and tactics escalate in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. Navy eliminating several more Iranian fast attack boats trying to disrupt Operation Freedom, a U.S. effort to shepherd stranded ships through the dangerous waters. Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
And we'll continue to be. If they pose a threat to our forces, we'll shoot down drones, we'll shoot down missiles, but it's defensive in nature. This is defensive. So if you hear stories about attacks and launching of firing back and forth, it's not back and forth.
Retired General Jack Keane tells Fox News Iran has already broken the ceasefire on more than one front.
Number one, they're now attacking our allies in the region. That is not something that's taken place in the Straits. I think that's clearly a violation. The second thing is you attack a U.S. warship, nothing is going to be the same after that.
Keane says the Iranian regime continues to play a delay game with U.S. negotiators predicting offensive military action will eventually be required again. A much different battle in the works over mail-order abortions. Alliance Defending Freedom, representing the state of Louisiana, which sued the FDA over distribution of those drugs.
Every hour that goes by that these drugs are allowed to be mailed is time where children die. We're talking an abortion rate that is the highest it's been in 15 years.
Last Friday, the Fifth Circuit Court ruled in favor of ADF. The case escalated to the U.S. Supreme Court on appeal, and the High Court issued an emergency ruling that the drugs like mifepristone can legally be mailed in all 50 states while the case plays out. The ADF's Chelsea Yeoman.
1.1 million children that we know of died last year from abortion. That's not even including black market drugs where we don't know what's happening. 65% of those abortions were by the drugs. We're not talking abortion clinics anymore where women walk in, have a surgical procedure, meet with doctors. Women can get these drugs on eBay. It's pervasive, it's dangerous, and it's time to end the bloodshed.
Yeoman says the Trump administration could intervene, or there may be an emergency decision from the High Court before their session ends in June. A shooting that happened not far from the White House involving a Secret Service agent under investigation.
Go, 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 go!
Sounds from the White House going into a brief lockdown over that incident. Secret Service Deputy Director Matthew Quinn says officers approached a suspicious individual who appeared to have a firearm. He says the suspect fled and was shot and wounded by one of the officers after firing in the direction of Secret Service agents. A child bystander was also injured.
The juvenile did not sustain any life-threatening injuries, but he's also receiving treatment at the hospital.
The incident occurred 9 days after the attempt on President Trump's life at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. As for that suspect, the federal judge in the case sharply criticizing the treatment he's gotten in jail.
He was not allowed to have outside materials in his jail cell, so he couldn't look at materials, documents related to preparing for his own trial. So I think that that's the due process issue here. They also said, however, that he hadn't said anything at intake that indicated he was suicidal, so that these restrictions just were not necessary.
CBS's Katrina Kaufman. The Trump administration is investigating one of the largest all-women schools in the country for admitting so-called transgender women. The Department of Education announcing it's opening a Title IX investigation into Smith College in Massachusetts. Next to the fallout that continues after the collapse of Spirit Airlines, this official at Arnold Palmer Airport in Western PA tells CBS.
We knew that there could be a chance that this could be happening. That's why we've been actively pursuing other airlines even before Spirit made the announcement that they were ceasing operations.
Colleen Burns, president of Spirit Local 77 of the Association of Flight Attendants CWA, says the sudden shutdown was heartbreaking.
I get on the phone with some of my family and friends at Spirit and, we just start crying.
John Covino was among thousands of Spirit customers left stranded by the shutdown.
I have a family of 6. It's a couple $1,000 just to get home now because they decide not to fly us home.
In court papers filed, Spirit says recent geopolitical events, a.k.a. the Middle East war, were a factor in their shutdown. Finally, McDonald's says it's phasing out self-service drink stations. They're going to remove the feature by 2032. Self-serve beverage stations have been widespread in McDonald's restaurants, allowing customers to refill their drinks with ease. The fast food giant says the move's intended to provide a more consistent experience for customers across the chain. The drink stations were phased out in the state of Illinois a couple of years ago. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, a recap of our top regional stories and highlights from today's Hometown Heroes. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. A new report shows New York's power grid is ill-equipped to handle a stifling heat wave if we get one this summer. Energy experts warn rolling blackouts could be the result from a sudden surge in air conditioner use over the next several months.
It's really an aging generation fleet we have in New York, and they're just not operating at a level back when these plants were in their prime.
Gavin Donahue with New York's independent system operator, which ensures energy reliability in the Empire State.
Anything 95 degrees, high 90s for 2 or 3 days in a row, that would drive demand up to a point that is significantly in excess of what we consider normal weather at that point.
Donahue tells Spectrum News New York's power plants are among the oldest in the country. Patrick Stella with National Grid says that's concerning given the fact that New Yorkers are using more electricity than ever before.
The demand for power has gone up, and the availability of that power is lagging a little bit behind that.
Last summer, there were 4 separate official heat waves in New York. A heat wave is defined as 3 consecutive days of 90 degrees or more. Dozens of fallen police officers added to the New York State Memorial in Albany today. The 39th annual memorial mass for deceased members of the law enforcement community taking place at St. Mary's Church, adding 56 fallen heroes from 8 police departments statewide. New York Governor Kathy Hochul there addressing the family members of the fallen officers.
It's not fair to you. You didn't ask for that. But I hope that while you had time together, your lives were enriched enough to carry on the memory, or the children who are here today. Maybe you lost a parent or a grandparent. You've been given sadness, grief, but also a resilience that'll endure through the ages because you got through this.
Hochul designated May 5th as Police Memorial Day and is also directing state landmarks to be lit in blue on Wednesday evening in their honor. A concerning trend on homelessness in Western New York. That story from Family Life's Sarah Harnish.
According to the Homeless Alliance of Western New York, an annual census found homelessness shot up dramatically in 5 counties, a 24% increase across Erie, Niagara, Orleans, Genesee, and Wyoming counties. In real numbers, that translates to nearly 2,200 homeless persons in the region compared to 1,800 the year before. The Alliance says it's the sharpest one-year increase since they began tracking those numbers in 2005. The goal of the census is to measure need, trigger community response, and inform funding decisions. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Thank you, Sarah. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court today issuing a warning to the public about a text message scam involving phony court appearance requests directed at recipients. According to Chief Justice of Pennsylvania, Deborah Todd, scammers are sending out a text message that spoofs or mimics the PA Supreme Court website, claiming the court has scheduled a mandatory court appearance for traffic offenses and lists court officials as contacts. It includes a fake link to pay a fee. They're warning people to not fall for it and click that link, not pay a penny to the scammers. Well, our unpredictable springtime weather has caused chaos for local gardeners. Steve Reiners is a professor of horticulture at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. He says mulch is a gardener's best friend in times like these.
It's tough. I mean, imagine being a commercial farmer and grower and trying to deal with that. Things like adding organic matter to the garden. You know, we think of compost and things, and that's great. But even adding some sort of bulky, even like a mulch that you would normally use to put around your plants, trying to put some of that into the soil can actually help aerate it a little bit. And you don't want to do that when the soil is very wet because that just ruins the soil.
Many gardeners traditionally use Mother's Day or Memorial Day as benchmarks for planting, but this year's weather has complicated that timeline. Experts say while hardy vegetables can tolerate colder temps, warmer weather crops remain vulnerable to late frosts that are common in the listing area through mid-May, sometimes even longer. Up next, highlights from today's edition of Hometown Heroes. I spoke with Jacob Witter of Wellsville, New York, one of an estimated 20 million people worldwide who live with schizophrenia. He's done that and more, becoming an advocate for others others with the same battle and crediting his faith for a key role in it all. This is a personal cause for you, as something you've had to deal with, continue to, as much as you're comfortable, a brief description of what you've gone through to get to this point, because I think it's still kind of a mystery to a lot of folks, just what that struggle is like. Shed some light on it.
Well, I was in graduate school. I had my first hospitalization there. It's been a tough road, you know. I've been hospitalized 4 other times. My last relapse was in 2019. It's been a long road. I've been a part of a lot of mental health programs. I was in STEL, which was a group home. I graduated from community services. I graduated from MIT. I'll always have to have my service with my EPC clinic here in Wellsville because of the medicine on clozapine. I got to get regular blood work done. It's not easy, but, you know, by relying on God, it's really helped me.
So you went through a lot of this struggle. Then you wound up helping to found a group called Battling Mindstriders. Tell us about that.
Battling Mindstriders is an organization in our community. We help advocate for people with mental health issues. We do other things like we do events. We start up a scholarship fund. We walk every Saturday at 10 a.m. at Catholic Charities here in Wellsville. And pretty much the objective is to improve our mental health, sharing coping mechanisms, and creating awareness about mental health.
It seems like there have been some improvements in that area. We've had athletes come out and talk about this and their struggles. People of prominence have really shined a little brighter spotlight on mental health and the importance of it.
Yes, definitely.
Battling Mindstriders, how important is that? Just getting out there, striding together. It's striding both metaphorically and also physically, getting out there.
You know, when we do these type of things, it helps people. And, you know, isolating is not a good way. So by having these walk every Saturdays, we're having these events, it helps educate our community. It helps people who may be struggling, seeing that, oh, maybe I can actually get out there, right, and do something.
Absolutely. I know you've also formed a partnership with the Allegheny County Area Foundation to establish an Overcoming Challenges Scholarship Fund. Tell us about that.
Back in December 2024, I went up to a mentor of mine and she helped me. We did the outline and the criteria for it. We're going to award $500 to a deserving high school senior who's a resident of Allegheny County and has overcome some type of challenge in their life. It doesn't have to be physical or mental. There could be other reasons too.
What do you hope that it will accomplish?
The hope is to award this scholarship to a student with a mental health diagnosis or a physical disability they have overcome or continue to overcome. You got to be accepted into a 2 or 4 year program, and students must have maintained a 2.5 GPA. They have to write an essay describing why they are deserving of the scholarship. Also important, volunteering would help you because volunteering is a very important part of my life. I volunteer at 3 areas. It's been something I've held on to. It helps me, you know, especially with my schizophrenia, because it lets me get out into the community, not isolate. It's about helping yourself too, right?
You just were recently named to a state advisory committee on this, so congratulations on that. And tell us a little bit about what that's all about.
They're starting up a schizophrenia committee for NAMI. It's a mental health organization.
It's got to be gratifying to you because you've been an advocate for so long to finally, you'll have a voice now at the not only at the local level, but the state level too.
Yeah, especially too, you know, it's been a long road for me. Like I said, my first hospitalization was in graduate school at Ohio State, but I will continue to persevere. Back then, I would have given up. But what I tell people is to never give up. If you give up, you're letting the enemy win, and you don't want to do that.
You touched on this a bit, the role that your faith has played in your health here.
Yes, I'm blessed for my parents. When I was a kid, we went to Protestant churches. When I attended my undergrad at St. Bonaventure, I took RCIA. I got confirmed, had my baptism, you know, went through the sacraments and everything. And it's been a blessing. As long as you believe in God, He will be there for you and He will keep on helping you through hardships or through, like with, for example, my schizophrenia, helping me with my mental health issues, right? Mm-hmm. Faith is a very important part of my life because it shows that you can continue to keep on going.
That's Jacob Witter of Wellsville, New York. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life. What
does it look like to finish well with what God has entrusted to you? Hi, I'm Rob West with the Faith and Finance Minute. In 2 Samuel 17 through 19, we meet Barzillai, an 80-year-old man of great wealth. When King David was fleeing for his life, Barzillai showed up with food and supplies to sustain the king and his army. After the victory, David tried to reward him with a place in the royal court, but Barzillai said no. Instead, he asked the king to bless someone else. He was content to serve, content to give, content to let go. That's the heart of biblical stewardship, not using wealth to elevate ourselves, but to serve God's purposes and release the rest. Because a life well lived isn't marked by what we keep, but by what we faithfully release. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
Thanks, Rob. Finally at 5, a thank you. 20 years in the making. Child Protective Service caseworkers rarely get the thanks they really deserve for all they do. Nearly 2 decades ago, Sarah Paul was an Arizona girl bouncing around the foster care system from one shelter or group home to another until she met CPS worker Barbara Drew Sanders.
She was exactly what I needed. She's what made me not continue the cycle, not go down the same path as everyone else in my family. She prevented me from doing what I wanted to do. She was the one trying to help prosecute against somebody that was hurting me. I felt like I had a home. I felt like I had somebody that cared. Felt like I had family, and that wasn't something that I had.
20 years later, now a mother of 5, Paul got a reminder caring for one of her own daughters of how much Drew Sanders meant to her.
All of the things that I started to do to protect her and to stand up for her and to fight for her was the same things that she did for me. Then it hit me like I never told her thank you.
Well, that began a long social media hunt to track down the CPS worker who had made such a difference in her life, eventually leading to an emotional reunion.
I started crying, so it was definitely heartfelt.
It was just as meaningful for Drew Sanders to find out firsthand the difference her efforts had made.
I'm just grateful that she was very persistent in looking for me. I'm so proud of her, for her to say thank you for something that I just seen as second nature. It makes me feel appreciated.
And the reunion wasn't a one and done. It turns out they only lived a few miles away from each other. They're now planning to spend more time together. So thank you, dedicated CPS workers everywhere. And that's the world we live in for Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.